Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Jan. How are you?
Excellent. Terrific. This next couple of minutes, we wanted to solidify important tips for people in a leadership position who have a preference for introversion. And when we're talking about introversion, we're looking at it through the lens of the Myers-Briggs. And people with a preference for introversion usually get their energy from inside their head. So they are energized by ideas, thoughts, feelings that are more internal. So people with this preference usually think, then speak, and then think. And sometimes you'll find that they are not as forthcoming with information, take a little bit more time to develop trusting relationships. However, what we do find is when they speak, it's quite impactful.
Oh, it's gold.
Yeah, because they've already thought about it.
That's right. So these are the types, people with a preference for introversion are seen as being calm and centered and can come across as being quite reserved. So if you're not quite sure whether you have a preference for introversion or extroversion, then that's how you'll know.
Yeah, and the other thing is that what happens with that is this preference for introversion is sometimes they forget to check with the outside world what's going on because they're so caught up in their headspace. So I'm married to, as you know, an introvert, and a lot of the times, you know, like I'll say to Bertie, oh, so what did we decide about the holiday and what are we going to do about this? And he goes, oh, I thought I've already told you. I went, no, you thought you told me, but it's still inside his head. So it's just making sure that they check in, that they've expressed what's inside.
Okay, so my, I suppose, first tip would be share information sooner, which just, you know, supports your point just then, Jan, is sometimes they have such a rich inner world that they forget to check with the outside world. So even if you don't have a, you know, completely thought out view on something, share some information so that your audience or your colleagues get some indication of where you're heading. You know, what, you know, 80-20 is okay, even 50-50, even, you know, it's a half well thought out idea. Share it sooner. Don't wait until it's fully formed before you share it.
Yes. The other tip that I would give is be more expressive. So for people with this preference, sometimes they are a little bit closed off and they are a little bit more demure, modified in their behaviour. And if you're conversing with someone who's very expressive, they may find that you're not matching their level of intensity or enthusiasm, and so they're thinking they're just not listening. And that's the other thing that we've noticed, Michelle, is that when people are talking to, you know, people with introversion, sometimes they'll look down and away, and what they're doing is they're actually processing the information that you're saying to them. They don't want any more external input, and some people think it,
oh, they're being rude or disrespectful.
They're not looking me in the eye. Yeah. But that was interesting. Over the years, we've noticed that this is a consideration. And the next one is for people with introversion is prepare. So if you're going into a meeting or a discussion, I would have at least 3 questions already half prepared. So guess or have a little bit of a plan about what people are going to ask you and start to think about how you would respond to that. And that means that when they do ask you that question, you've already started to formulate that response. You're not formulating a script, but you're actually having a little bit of a planned response. And you will notice then, because you're going to get that positive feedback with your response, more than likely you will start to practice and make that's your pattern of behavior, because really what we want people to practice is to expand their repertoire of behavior.
That's right, and share their gifts with the world. And that's what we really encourage people with a preference for extroversion to do, is set yourself a mini challenge, and that is that I am going to contribute in some shape or form in every meeting that I attend. And so it doesn't mean to say you have to be the first person to speak up. Yeah. That's right. But you might write something on a piece of paper, an idea, and and when the gap comes, go for it and share it with somebody.
And after doing hundreds and hundreds of Myers-Briggs, we usually, separate the people with introversion and extroversion. We ask them what they like about the other type and what frustrates them about the other type. And the 3 points that we've just shared with people with introversion, they're the things that really frustrate people with extroversion. And 50% of the population are introversion, are introverts as well. So it really does, it really would be advantageous to understand that other type.
Yeah, that's great, Jen. So let's just recap. Our top tips was mine: share more information sooner,
be more expressive, and prepare your questions.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks, Jen.
See ya.
Bye.
You've been listening to the People Leaders Podcast with Michelle and Jan Turkelson. For show notes and other free resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. Do you know someone else who could benefit from cutting-edge leadership and management techniques? Please take a moment to share this and other episodes via your podcast app, email, or social media channels. Each share helps us fulfill our goals of reducing workplace stress and increasing job satisfaction for leaders, managers, and their teams worldwide. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts On Air Podcast Network.